Daniel needs you backstage. Marcus Vale said it quietly, almost pleasantly, while hundreds of people applauded beneath a giant screen celebrating Road Trace Systems' 25th anniversary. I followed him because I thought Daniel Mercer, our CEO, was finally going to acknowledge what I had helped build. Instead, Daniel stood behind the curtain holding a white envelope. "Arriela," he said, avoiding my eyes, "it's time to retire. We need younger, more energetic staff." I stared at him. Retire? I was 30 years old. Marcus folded his arms beside him, as if the decision had already been settled. Daniel frowned. "Marcus said you'd already discussed the transition." "I've never discussed leaving this company with anyone." That was the first moment Daniel looked confused. But Marcus stepped between us before I could say another word. And that was when I realized something was very wrong. Outside the curtain, the anniversary video kept playing. A photograph appeared of Road Trace's first cramped office, back when the company was worth barely $2 million. Then came footage of new regional centers, national expansion, overseas contracts, and finally the number glowing across the ballroom. $4.5 billion. I recognized almost every stage. I had joined Road Trace at 19 answering customer support calls. Over 11 years, I helped redesign our customer retention system, coordinate expansion teams, and build operational processes departments across the company still used. Yet as the video celebrated, the people who built Road Trace, my name never appeared. Now I understood why. Marcus looked at me and said, "The company can't keep carrying people who have stopped evolving." I turned toward him. "You're calling me outdated." His mouth curled into a small smile. "Don't make this dramatic. Nobody wants to watch a lazy old lady fight retirement at an anniversary party." Two employees, standing near the curtain, heard him. One covered her mouth. The other looked directly at Daniel. Daniel said, "Marcus, that's enough." But it wasn't enough for me. I unclipped my Road Trace badge and placed it on the table beside Daniel's envelope. "You're celebrating 25 years of loyalty tonight," I said. "Maybe decide what that word means before the party ends." Then I walked away. I crossed the ballroom while employees toasted the company's history and a recorded voice declared, "Road Trace was built together." Nobody stopped me. Outside, I reached the employee entrance and looked at my badge one last time. Something bothered me. Daniel had supposedly fired me only minutes earlier. So why did I already feel as though the decision had been made long before that conversation? I pressed the badge against the scanner. A red light flashed. Access D&ID. I tried again. Same result. My stomach tightened. Security had already deactivated me. Before Daniel handed me the envelope. Before Marcus insulted me. Possibly before I had even arrived at the anniversary celebration. I stared through the glass doors at the company I had helped grow from millions into billions. And one question suddenly mattered more than the firing itself. If Daniel had only just decided I was leaving, why had Marcus already prepared for my removal? I got home still carrying the anniversary gift every employee had received. A polished silver model car sat inside a black presentation box. On the base, 5 words were engraved. 25 years, built together. I set it on the kitchen table, beside the termination envelope. For a few seconds, I just looked at both of them. Then I opened my laptop. If Marcus had arranged my access removal before Daniel spoke to me, I needed to know when this had actually started. I went back through the previous week. 3 days earlier, Marcus had stopped by my office. He had leaned against the doorframe and asked, "Do you ever think about doing something different?" At the time, I laughed. Different how? New company, consulting, something slower. I had assumed he was making conversation. Then I remembered what he asked next. If you disappeared tomorrow, who could run your department? I had smiled and said, Nobody without 6 months of training. Marcus hadn't smiled back. He had taken out his phone and typed something. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Now I did. I picked up my personal phone and searched through messages from the last few days. One stood out. It had been sent by Jenna, an HR coordinator, shortly before the anniversary event. I thought you were staying through the transition. I had been too busy getting ready for the celebration to answer. Now I called her. She picked up after 4 rings. Arriela. Jenna, what transition were you talking about? Silence. Then she said, I thought you knew. Knew what? Another pause. Marcus submitted paperwork saying you requested voluntary retirement. I sat upright. I never requested anything. Jenna's voice dropped. Are you serious? Completely. I heard papers moving on her end. Then her tone changed. There's something else. What? Your access termination request was submitted yesterday afternoon. My hand tightened around the phone. The anniversary ceremony had not even started then. Who submitted it? She answered immediately. Marcus. That changed everything. Daniel's conversation with me had not been the beginning. It had been the final performance. Marcus had already arranged my exit before anyone officially told me I was leaving. I ended the call and placed the silver anniversary car beside the envelope. Then I photographed both. I started creating folders on my laptop. Messages. Dates. Names. Anything I still had access to. My phone buzzed. An email had landed in my personal inbox. It had been forwarded from inside Road Trace. The subject line read, Phase 2, opioid vendor transition. I stared at it for 1 second. Then I opened it. The first page made my firing look small. Marcus wasn't simply replacing me. He was preparing to outsource a large part of my entire operations division within 30 days. I scrolled faster. Customer support coordination, fleet monitoring assistance, regional operations processing. Dozens of jobs. People I had hired, people I had trained. Suddenly, Marcus's question from 3 days earlier made perfect sense. If you disappeared tomorrow, who could run your department? He hadn't been planning for my absence. He had been planning it. By morning, my phone was filling with messages from Road Trace employees. Arriela, did you really retire? Marcus said you wanted to leave. Someone told us you became difficult about the restructuring. Then a company-wide email arrived. Marcus had written it. He thanked me for my years of valuable service and wished me well in my next chapter. Below that came his announcement of a new modernization initiative. I almost laughed. He was rewriting my departure before I could challenge it. Then a longtime colleague from finance contacted me privately. Call me. I did. He skipped the greeting. Have you seen Marcus's vendor proposal? Part of it. Then look at the first 2 years. I opened the numbers while he spoke. The outsourcing company costs us more, I said. Exactly. I stared at the projections. Marcus had sold this as efficiency, but the transition expenses alone destroyed that argument. So why would we do it? That's not the strangest part. A file appeared in my inbox. It was the vendor's corporate information. My colleague said, look at the executive list. One name stood out. I recognized it from Marcus's professional history. The man had worked closely with him before Marcus joined Road Trace. That didn't prove Marcus was personally benefiting, but it proved his story about needing younger, more energetic staff was becoming harder to believe. Then another notification appeared. Marcus's farewell message was now circulating among senior leadership. I could stay silent and let him define what happened. Or correct the record. I hit reply all to the executive group. I wrote one sentence. For accuracy, I did not retire, resign, or request a transition. Send. Within seconds, replies started appearing. What? Can HR clarify? Arriela, please call me. Then my phone rang. MARCUS Vale. I watched it until the call stopped. He immediately called again. Decline. A third call appeared seconds later. But this time, the name on my screen changed everything. Daniel Mercer, CEO. I answered. Daniel didn't even say hello. Arriela, I need you to tell me exactly what Marcus told you last night. Daniel's voice sounded nothing like it had backstage. Start from the beginning, he said. Don't leave anything out. You told me to retire. I know what I said. Because Marcus told you, I had already agreed to leave. Silence. Then Daniel said, according to the documents Marcus gave me, you agreed to a voluntary transition months ago. I didn't. You never discussed retirement with HR. Never. I heard Daniel exhale. I've been awake since I saw your email this morning. A document arrived while we were speaking. Open what I just sent you. I did. There was Daniel's signature at the bottom. Above it, my departure was listed as part of a larger restructuring package. Voluntary retirement transition. Marcus brought me dozens of anniversary quarter approvals together, Daniel said. I was told HR had confirmed every individual transition. They didn't. I forwarded Jenna's message. I thought you were staying through the transition. Then I sent the outsourcing email. Daniel stopped talking. Nearly 30 seconds passed. Finally, he said, where did you get this? It was forwarded to me. More silence. This isn't the version I reviewed. My chair scraped backward. What? The proposal I saw was exploratory. This reads like implementation. I heard rapid typing. Then Daniel's tone hardened. I'm freezing the outsourcing process effective immediately. He kept going. Marcus's administrative permissions are being suspended pending review. HR will preserve the emails, document histories, approval logs, access records, everything. Yesterday, I had been treated like an outdated employee who should quietly disappear. Now the company was investigating whether the process used to remove me had been manipulated. Then Daniel said something I hadn't expected. Come back. I looked at the termination envelope, still sitting beside the silver anniversary car. No. Arriela. Yesterday you trusted paperwork over the person who helped build your company. I'm not walking back in until you know exactly what happened. Daniel didn't argue. You're right. Before he could continue, I heard his office door open. A familiar voice came through the phone. Daniel, whatever she told you. Marcus. Daniel cut him off. Marcus closed the door. The call disconnected. Daniel called me again that afternoon. This time, he wasn't alone. Arriela, he said. HR is here. The board's legal advisor is also on the call. I looked at the silver anniversary car, still sitting beside my termination envelope. Okay, tell me what you found. Daniel didn't soften it. Marcus represented your departure as voluntary when he had no authorization from you to do that. HR had reconstructed the timeline. Marcus submitted the paperwork describing my departure as a voluntary retirement. Then he arranged for my access to be terminated before the anniversary ceremony even began. After that, he presented Daniel with the larger restructuring package in a way that implied HR had already completed the necessary conversations with everyone affected, including me. So when you spoke to me backstage, I said, you thought I already knew. Yes. And you never checked. Daniel went quiet. No. That one word mattered. Marcus had created the lie. But Daniel had trusted it. The investigation had uncovered another problem. The outsourcing plan was much further along than Daniel had been told. The proposal he remembered reviewing had been exploratory. The documents preserved by HR showed that it had moved toward implementation. Worse, the financial projections understated the transition costs. And Marcus had failed to properly disclose his previous professional connection to an executive at the vendor. Now the reason for removing me was clear. I controlled the operational data. I knew what it actually cost to run those departments. I knew our staffing requirements, retention numbers, transition risks, and regional systems. If Marcus wanted weak numbers to survive scrutiny, I was the worst person to leave in the room. My experience had never been the problem. It was the threat. Daniel spoke again. There's something I need to say. I waited. Marcus was able to do this because I stopped questioning decisions involving people who helped build this company. I trusted the process instead of verifying it. You did more than that, Daniel. I know. No, I need you to hear it. Silence. Marcus gave you the lie, I said. But you looked at a 30-year-old woman who gave 11 years to this company and told her she was too old for it. Daniel didn't defend himself. You're right. Then he said, I'm sorry, Arriela. No excuse followed. Marcus was suspended immediately. After the internal investigation confirmed the false retirement representation and the disclosure failures surrounding the vendor proposal, Road Trace terminated his employment. The outsourcing arrangement was canceled. The employees whose jobs had been threatened stayed, while the board ordered an independent review of the restructuring process. Even Marcus's lazy old lady remark came back to him. The two employees who heard it confirmed exactly what he had said. A few days later, Daniel called with another offer. Your old position is waiting for you. No. He paused. What would bring you back? That was a different question. I wasn't negotiating as the employee who had walked out carrying a termination envelope anymore. I laid out my conditions. Road Trace created a new position, Executive Vice President of Operations and Institutional Strategy. I would report directly to Daniel, have quarterly access to the board, and hold written authority over major operational restructuring decisions. The company also established protections requiring documented HR review before a single executive could quietly remove senior employees through the kind of process Marcus had abused. I accepted. Weeks later, Road Trace held another employee meeting. There were no balloons, no champagne, no giant anniversary spectacle. Daniel stood before the staff and corrected the record publicly. Arriela Monroe did not retire. She did not resign, and her contribution to this company was not properly recognized. Behind him, photographs from Road Trace's history appeared. This time, when the expansion projects and operational milestones came onto the screen, my work was identified. I sat in the front row. I didn't need the applause. I needed the truth to remain where everyone could see it. Later, I returned to my new office and placed one object on the shelf behind my desk. The silver model car. 25 years, built together. I kept it because I never wanted to forget what happened when other people were allowed to rewrite my contribution for me. They tried to erase me from the company I helped build, but by the time the truth came out, I wasn't leaving Road Trace. I finally had the authority to protect what I helped build.